Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kube Vanguard. The Kube Vanguard is back after a long pause. I'm not going to make up excuses. It's work life. You know how it goes. Anyway, so I decided to come back to the Kube Vanguard and also to do more Kasten because Kasten isn't staying put. It's moving along and it's getting better and better, believe me. So I wanted to show today, well, first of all, I wanted to remind everybody about the Cloud Native show that I took part with Michael Cade this week. We do our regular, every month, a Cloud Native show. And we discussed this topic, Kubernetes, VMs on Kubernetes. And I wanted to show that in a little bit more depth. Well, not so much more depth, but just from a separate angle in today's first Kube Vanguard show in quite a while. Now, I know I've said it before. I'm going to do this on a regular basis. I will. Got a lot of travel to do and whatnot. But you know what? When I'm traveling, I might just make the Kube Vanguard like one of those travel shows. So it'll be like, okay, let's unplug from IT and then walk around the city. Now, in the last year, I've been to some rough cities. I'm not going to name them, but there were some places where I took a walk, and this become more of one of those, crime shows, whatever. It was interesting. But I figure you got to show life the way it is. If you've got a messed up cluster, you got to show it and let people see it to know how to fix it. Same thing with the travel. So that's how I'm going to get out of this dilemma of when I'm traveling and I don't have time to do a Kube Vanguard technical show. I'll do one of those, around the world, travel shows things. Maybe get a sponsor and I can do more travel, right? So that's what we're going to go forward. Today, though, I wanted to show, again, Kubervirt with Kasten because I'm hearing more about it. Obviously, because of the VMware situation, organizations are making choices now. They're deciding whether they want to continue with VMware or if they want to go to different hypervisors. And the good thing is there is a lot of choice. It's not the same as VMware, and we stated that with Michael Cade during the show, but there is choice. And so you can decide to go in one direction or the other. And some organizations are figuring, well, we're probably going to introduce container workloads in the future. We might as well bite the bullet now, pay for the training or hire the staff. Don't enable AI totally. So I've been, just to go on a digression, I've been leveraging AI to help me out with certain tough things like grok parsing for seams and sometimes YAML files, whatnot. Believe me, it is very tricky because they'll take you or it'll take you, whatever. How do you address AI for a long ride unless you're not careful? And if you have the expertise, you can catch it before it wastes like half a day or destroys whatever you were trying to do. But if you don't have the expertise, this is a roller coaster. I mean, like if you enjoy that kind of thing, great. Without you'd have to pay the ticket for the amusement park. But and I've done that. Okay, I've gotten lazy. That I'll just let AI in. Woo, whoa, up and down. So I don't recommend that. It's a fantastic tool when used in moderation. It kind of reminds me of my old college days. Go to the party and drink in moderation, Jeff, right? Right. So same thing with AI. Okay, enough talking. Let's look at Kubervirt again, like we did during the Cloud Native show. So this Kubervirt, it's kind of a funny story. I had an old desktop, pretty powerful desktop, in my basement just gathering dust. And so I thought, you know what? Let's see if I can turn this into a virtualization server. And it turned out to be very simple. So I installed Ubuntu server, no UI, Ubuntu server, bare bones. On top of that, K3S, my beloved K3S, because it's very, very lightweight, and I know it well. Again, you use what you know, unless, of course, you're not doing a video of it and you're in your lab, then you can use whatever and then make a fool of yourself, which I do on a regular basis too. And then on top of K3S, I've installed Kubervirt. So you have bottom layer, well, you have this old desktop with extra memory. I put in 64 gigs. Ubuntu VM, not Ubuntu, I'm sorry, Ubuntu operating system on the bare metal, K3S Kubernetes distribution on top of that, and Kubervirt on top of that. And inside of that, another Ubuntu. I think it's Ubuntu. I think I put another Ubuntu inside of that. And the reason why I did this, apart from just, having some free time and, I work for a living in IT. What do you do in your free time? I do IT. It's just one of those things. I also wanted to try block mode VMs, leveraging block mode because I was told that you can now back those up to a real Veeam repository. So a bit of a reminder, in the past, you could only back up to a Veeam repository if the Kubernetes storage was vSphere CSI. Now block mode will work as well. There is a caveat, and the caveat is on the documentation page, which we always check before we play around the lab. And it says, Veeam Kasten for Kubernetes does not support Kasten exports to direct backup object storage repositories. Now, I hope that'll change, but that's the case right now. This is the integration page. So you can't back up a workload in Kasten to a Veeam repository, which is being leveraged on S3. Doesn't matter. AWS, UPI, doesn't matter. You can't do that yet. There is a fun workaround, though, which I just did. So obviously, unless you really need this for different reasons, it's probably still better to go directly to S3 from Kasten, right? Location profile, S3, and go directly there. But still, we're moving in the right direction, as I say. So enough about documentation. So if you just install Kubervirt, and, sorry, another caveat, Kubervirt, so this is vanilla Kubervirt, is not officially supported by Kasten. Okay, I got it to work. I didn't have that many issues. There were a few things that I had to kind of tweak. But obviously officially supported is Harvester and OpenShift. I think at least those two are supported. So this isn't unsupported territory, but it is Kubervirt. And that's kind of that's what's running underneath Harvester and OpenShift. In fact, I think Kubervirt was started by OpenShift, by Red Hat, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so normally when you install it, you just get the UI. This is like everything in life. If you just install the, let's clear this. You just install the vanilla, you're just going to get this, right? You're going to get, and this is, I'll show you my setup here. So, okay, get nodes. This is a single node. It's on bare metal. And you'll see you get the namespaces. You'll notice that there is, I'm using Metal LB for a load balancer, but there's a Kubervirt namespace, and that's where it's running. You install the Kubervirt CRDs, custom resource definitions, and then you can do things like get VMs. Namespace is VMs, and there you go. I've got a VM, and I called it Ubuntu Block VM, so I wouldn't get confused with the other VMs in there. How many VMs do you see in there? None, but nevertheless, you never know. I might add more. And so that's what you get by default. But you'll notice I also added in the Kubervirt Manager, okay, for a little bit of UI experience. I haven't really tweaked it yet, so I've got the bare metal. There's a lot you can do with this. Again, very simple. You go to Kubervirt Manager, the GitHub, you get the YAML, and you just install it. But again, you can, of course, tweak it as much as you want. And that looks like this. It's a nice dashboard. It's a nice UI dashboard. I certainly don't mind it. Got my nodes, my virtual machines. You press more info. It's going to give you some basic info on them. For some reason, that's all highlighted. I guess not highlighted, just the way it is. Virtual machines, there you are. You can see it's green. It's running. And what I like about this is, and I've got to really look into this, is that when you want to get the console, the virtual machine in Kubervirt, you can also load a command called virtctl. So it also has to be installed separately, right? So virtctl. Oh, wait a minute. Well, if I can spell it correctly, virtctl. Off we go. So this, and with this, it's much easier than to start a machine. If you don't have the UI, you normally have to patch in Kubernetes, so you don't want to do that. So this is, you can do start or stop VM and then namespace. So that's cool. This will also give you a console, but I've had trouble with it. It hangs. I haven't looked into it yet, and I will. But this makes it much easier. Kubervirt Manager, because I can just go to here to actions and this guy here, and off I go. So this is my machine. So clear that screen. So this is the Ubuntu machine running inside of Kubervirt. Okay, and I can stop it here. I believe I can pause it. I can get information on it. I can pull the plug, which is always nice. I can delete it. I don't know what that is. Oh, live migrate. Ooh, live migration. Isn't that cool? I've only got one node, so that's not going to be too much fun. It's not going to go anywhere. And this is these are details about the virtual machine. So again, very small. Showing you disks. In fact, I think I need to, and this gives you console right here too. Oh, I see, didn't even see that. That's cool. Although with my glasses, I can't really see where the heck that is. Anyways, there's still other things you have to do, and I'll have to do that. Now, one difference, and this is when you're going to the Kubervirt world, and we're just talking vanilla Kubervirt, not necessarily OpenShift or Harvester. With Harvester, I've done it recently. It's a lot simpler. You have to load an ISO, to be able to boot from an ISO to install a VM, you have to load the ISO into a persistent volume claim in the namespace where you want to create a VM. So that was a little bit fun when I first went through it. So if you go to, if I go back to that's my other Kube. I've got a bunch of Kubervirts. I got so excited I created another one. So let's get that one out of here for a second. So let me show you what I mean. So let's go to my namespace. The namespace where my virtual machine is VMs. Right? You want to get confused. So let's get PVCs, persistent volume claims, in the namespace VMS. And you'll see right away, oh, you know what? I already deleted it. Right, okay, safe space. But what was in there before was this PVC, okay, and the ISO PVC. And it's a special, it says CD-ROM, and that's what you need to add. And then in the YAML file, when you create your machine, you have to put boot order to make sure that it boots that one first. And then I just removed it. So you put boot 1 and then boot 2, right? Obviously, you want the ISO to boot. So I must have removed that. I actually, by accident, loaded it first into the default namespace. Yeah, and there's still one there. Good. So that's what I want to show you. So while I was doing my learning curve, I just loaded the ISO into the default namespace. Of course, obviously, when I tried to boot my machine, couldn't find the ISO because it was in the wrong namespace. But I left this one here, and there you go. So it's Longhorn storage class, and it's just you call it something so you recognize the Debian ISO. Somewhere I thought I saw a CD-ROM. Let's just describe it. Get PVC default. So describe. Let's describe it. PVC Debian beep. Okay, I'm pretty certain I saw that somewhere. It might have been the UI. Maybe not. Anyways, it's an ISO, so you know what it is. And that's how I built the machine when it was in the right namespace. Okay, so then I loaded Kasten. Now, when you're doing backups of Kasten, you normally would just, as I say, send it to S3, NFS, Azure, AWS. But I wanted to try block mode. And this was a little tricky. So Longhorn, which comes with K3S, well, you have to add that. No, I'm wrong. So I was playing, this is what happens, you get confused. I was leveraging Harvester, right, from SUSE, which is under HPE. And SUSE now have all of that. They have Rancher distribution, they have K3S, Longhorn, right? It's all to do with farms, if you've noticed, right? They've got Cattle Manager in Rancher. It's all kind of fun. But that comes default with Longhorn. My vanilla setup obviously doesn't. I had to add Longhorn. It wasn't that difficult. Longhorn supports block mode. I found it a bit tricky. I'm not going to go through all the steps here, but basically in the end, what I had to do was I had to create a special storage class, and then it worked. Although it might have worked anyways. Let me just get the SC, because I found another issue inside, not an issue, but one extra step I had to do inside of Kasten, which I'll show you now. But here you can see there's the default Longhorn storage class, there's Longhorn block, and there's Longhorn static, which I haven't really played with. I don't know. But Longhorn block's the one I believe I leveraged. In fact, we should be able to see in that PVC that I created. Yeah, see, Longhorn block is the storage class. Okay, so setting that up isn't necessarily tricky, but you have to do a few extra things. Another thing that's important, if we move to Kasten now, so I might do a whole separate blog on how to set up a VM on block storage in Longhorn. From the Kasten point of view, though, there's a couple things you have to do. So one thing is important in the new Kasten. It used to be that you had that default service count, K10-K10, so that's gone now. So now, if you're going to use token authentication, and you're RBAC, obviously, you're going to have to create a service count, okay? And then you're going to have to give permissions. So I created Kasten root. It's to really be avant-garde. So it's Kasten root. And then you have to give it at least 2. You've got to bind it to a cluster. I think it's the cluster admin Kasten RBAC. Let's see. In fact, you can see this here, but I might not have given myself permissions. I didn't. There we go. There's 2 of them. And then there's the NS admin inside of the namespace, the Kasten IO namespace. You need those, at least those. But for virtual machines, you need additional one, which is called, You know what? I should be able to see this. I go to my information. Let's go down here. I believe there was somewhere I saw this. User profile. Right. So if you go to whoever you're logged into up here on the right hand side, and you go to user profile, you can actually see all of your permissions. So cluster level access permissions. Pretty cool. So it's telling you everything you can do here, right? Which is nice. And there's something I can't do, which is the RBAC, so I must have missed something somewhere. But this is giving me enough for now, so that's nice. But obviously, you can also look and see what cluster role bindings you have and what namespace role bindings you have as well to see. But just keep in mind, it's in the documentation. In fact, let's just go there now. The Kasten documentation. So if you need to add for virtual machines an extra, so you're probably aware of the two that you need normally anyways, because a lot of people are creating already their own service accounts. But for virtual machines, you need one extra one. So let's just go and find that. Virtual machines, okay. So here it is, K10 virtual machines admin, okay? That's the cluster role that you're gonna have to bind to as well. And if you don't do that, then you won't, if you go here whoa, not there, but over here, where am I? Then you'll just see, well, you'll see not allowed to look at or something like that. Doesn't have permissions. So I can see that. So you don't have to create the cluster admin role. It's a virtual machine role. It's there. Just create a binding to the service account you've got and you're all set, okay? And then you can see it. Now, how do you back up virtual machines? Same in Kasten, the same way you do other workloads. You don't do it from here. You can do some stuff from here, like you can look at the details, which is pretty cool. Okay, that's giving you the details of the virtual machine. Also, very important, I want to point this out if you noticed it, enable guest freeze, okay? So, you know, if you're running an application that needs to be frozen before a snapshot, you want to enable that. So in my other Kubervirt, I'm running in Proxmox. So for that, for instance, I have to add the Quemu guest agent for that so they can actually do that. So this is familiar territory for anyone who's done backup for a long time. Just like, you know, VSS or Linux scripts, you know, pre and post scripts and backups, okay? But how do you create a backup policy? Well, they've decided to make it simple. Nothing from here. You go to where you always go, which is applications, where you can see all your workloads running. So your VMs and, of course, your deployments or what else you've got in Kubernetes. Might be a good idea, though, to do things by namespace. I mean, you can filter and stuff like that, but especially when you're learning. So I've only got one namespace here with one virtual machine, but if I start creating more, I might create separate namespaces, unless the virtual machines need to talk to each other. I mean, you can always create network policies, but I would probably separate things if they have nothing to do with one another, obviously, but it makes it easier when it comes to backup. So what do? You right click on the three little dots here, and here you've got what you're used to from before, a snapshot, which is not a backup, it's local, restore, export, details, and create a policy. Now, we always want to create a policy. So I created the policy from here, and it's basically going to bring up the exact same things you saw before, maybe a little different. Let's just go to policies. So if we go to view the policy, it's got this nice view thing. You can actually see. This is very important, by the way, import data. Always copy that off your cluster because this allows you to import this workload into another cluster if you have a disaster. Now, you can use K10 disaster recovery, right? Which is fantastic. They've made it much better and much easier. But keep in mind, you need that if you want to do individual ones. Without that, because of the encryption, and also it'll find where it's located. Okay, and what you'll notice here is, okay, there's my applications, there's a namespace, but location profiles, there's two of them. Okay, and why is that? Because this is block mode, so it's a VM running on block mode. Great. I can send that to a VBR repository, so not just to an S3. However, you still need S3 or an NFS file share or somewhere else to send the metadata, okay? You can't send everything to VBR. So in other words, you can't just add a Veeam repository here and be done with it. You're happy, everything's being backed up. You still need the extra piece, okay? So that's why I have two location profiles here. This is a VBR one. And for the VBR one, I believe I just used a VHR small one I've got in my system. And the other thing that you need to do, at least I need to do, so I set that up, that's great. But let's just go into a second into here. If you go into edit, all right. So in edit, you'll see export location profile, which we're used to. We had that before. But now there's this export volume snapshot data to VBR. So it's the volume snapshot data. You look for a location, and I have two in there. But, so I have one, it's a VHR, one's REFS. It won't go to your REFS anymore. It says not immutable. That was interesting. So I hadn't seen that before. Whoop, let's select that. And then here, it's telling you, okay, you have to support block mode export, and it'll take you to documentation. So I did all that, nothing worked, and it was giving me all these crazy errors. And then somehow I figured out, you know, sometimes when nothing's working and it's a lab, not production, you start trying anything and it works, and you hope that you remembered that last thing you did. You should do them step by step, try it. But anyways, I did remember, and it was this. In advanced export settings, exporter storage class name. Now, I didn't go in there, and I thought I'd read documentation. I'll have to go through it again. I might have missed it. Maybe it's there, maybe it isn't. But I thought since it's advanced, I'm not doing anything advanced. I'm not going to go in there. I didn't even look. I should have looked, really. I looked later, and I thought, well, you know what? I'll just put my storage class in here. Exporter storage class name. And it worked. Okay? So if it works, I'm not complaining. That was the only extra. Okay, so let's do a backup right now. So off it goes, and let's head over to Veeam. We'll head over to Veeam. So here's Veeam, and it should pop up here as running soon. So first, it's going to do the local snapshot on Kasten, right? Always does that first. After it's finished the local snapshot on Kasten, it will export, okay? And it's going to have to export to two locations, right? So it's going to export to the snapshot data is going to go to a Veeam repository. The retention has to go to S3 or NFS or something else. Okay, so that's one of the little caveats. We'll see how that goes forward in the future. And again, I had to use a Linux file system, just a normal XFS file system, immutable, as my target in Veeam. Okay, it will not allow you to go to a Veeam repository, which is S3. But it will allow you, from that data, from that job that's on your VBR, to do a backup copy job to S3. So that's what I did. I'll show you that in a second. Let's just see this little fellow start running. Again, this is my lab, so it's not going to be super speedy. I've got way too much running there. Let's go to the dashboard, see what's happening. Better not be failing. No, so off it goes. It just takes its time. It's still doing the second action, which is the initial snapshot. So we have to wait for that. And then we should see it pop up here. It'll pop up running because I added it. Now, you can just add it as a repository, and it worked, right? But obviously, if you're going to add it there, you might as well add it inside of the VBR console as well. And as you can see here, if I go to Manage Servers Kasten, I have two. One's because it's turned off, but this is the machine we're talking about right now. That's the one that's running. So that's been added. So as soon as this little fella starts off, let's see what it's doing. Okay. Oh, it said it finished. Let me just see if I'm in the right location. This always happens when, one second. Am I on the right backup? I don't think I was. I think that I pressed the other one. Okay, so that's done. And the export's done too. Okay, interesting. All right, let's go take a look. I don't see monitoring actions. It just hasn't gotten to it, I guess, yet. Let's take a look. Wait a minute, that's at 5. No, that was on Wednesday. What are you talking about, Jeff? I'm getting confused. So let's just go back to Kasten. So this is Kasten. This is the right Kasten, right, Jeff? Yeah. Let's look at our virtual machines. I prepared for this. Did I actually press? You know what? I don't think I actually ran it. I think I was talking about it. So let's go to policies. You know what? Of course I didn't run it. All right. Yeah, because if you run it ad hoc, you have to put in a date. So I'll just put this for tomorrow, and there we go. All righty. So now it'll run. So I wasted a good 10 minutes there, but that's okay. Got some good talking in. So off it goes. Great. All right. So that'll now do the backup. While it's doing that, let me show you what I've already done. So as I said before, you cannot back up from Kasten to a Veeam repository that is being hosted on S3. But you can't do it, not yet. So it has to be, and it has to be an immutable file system. So you're only talking really XFS with immutability enabled in that case. So what if I want to keep my stuff in S3? I just don't want to have it on XFS too long. Okay, well, the simple solution is this. Because you can do a backup copy job of that XFS repository, you can just do a backup there, have minimal retention, like 1 day retention, 2 day retention, right? And then do a backup copy job to an S3 with enormous retention. And that's basically what I did. So if you look at backup copy jobs here, I've got this Kubervirt backup copy job, right? Okay, so if we open this up, you'll see a warning because it couldn't send an email. Well, who cares? But there you go. So this was a full VM's backup. And if we actually edit that to show you what the source is, what I'm sourcing it from, it's immediate. It's coming from the Veeam VHR, okay? And that VHR, if we go to that VHR, what's in there, Jeff? So if we go in that VHR, let me just find my backup. I've got so much garbage in here. I got to clean up my lab. And you just keep doing crazy stuff. That's another one. Give me a second. It's in here some. Well, we'll start running. Oh, it's running. That's the easier way to look at it. So there we are. VM backups. There. You see a little Kubernetes sign. Okay. And if we go to statistics, we will see it happily moving along. If we go back to Kasten, you'll see it's now running. So my Kasten's frozen because I'm running this on a machine which I've really overloaded. It was a desktop in a past life. It was happily doing Word and Excel spreadsheets, and now I'm like forcing it to be a hypervisor in Kubernetes. Anyways, the backup will work. There it is. You can see it's the Kubernetes backup. So now let's take a look. That's going to fit. That'll go through and finish. But where does it go to? Okay. So it goes to disk here, and you'll see it here as a VM, right? A Kubernetes VM, not a Kubernetes sign. This is cool. Why? Because it's a Veeam repository. If I right click, boom. Now, don't get your hopes up about instant disk recovery, because for that, you'd have to have vSphere and first class disk. So I don't have VMware in my lab anymore because I didn't want to pay. So I can't do that. Okay. But what I can do, which is pretty cool, is I can do very easy file level restore. And it's just going to leverage the same thing that you do for a Linux server, right? And let's just do this quickly. Bring it up. I actually showed this in the Cloud Native show as well. So that can be convenient as well. You can also, I think, publish disks, export. So that's pretty cool. Also, let's just see. I shouldn't have done that because now I got 2 jobs running. They'll be even slower. Oh, that's not too bad. So there you go. Okay. That's the file system. I'll close that. Let's go back to running stuff. And let's see our backup. What's happening? So it's still waiting because it's probably still doing the local snapshot. I have to wait for that to finish. It'll come back up. What will happen with this, not to waste too much more time, this will back up. It'll be another restore point. Okay. It'll be another restore point here. But then more importantly, what's going to happen is my backup copy job, Kubervirt backup copy job, will immediately, after that backup job is finished, do a backup copy job to my S3 storage where I have the big retention, right? So I've got a small XFS file system just for, the last backup or the one before that. Everything else goes to the S3. Both are immutable. Very important, okay? So that's not really 3-2-1, although it is kind of 3-2-1, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Well, it is 3-2-1, Jeff. I mean, 2 different locations. Offsite, though, you need the offsite, and it's not offsite. It's all in my basement, so that's not 3-2-1. In fact, underground, it'd be 0 something. Okay, can we see it in here? Yes, we can. So what's cool about this? So this is now object storage, right? This is where I'm gonna keep my majority of my backups, like the big chunks, because object storage, it's bigger and it's easier to deal with. So I have just 1 copy or 2 copies on the XFS file system, but then my backup copy job goes to here, and guess what? I can do the same thing, but from the S3 already. So that is very cool. Also, you've got export content as disk, publish disk, export backup. So pretty cool. Let's just see if this takes a while in my lab, but it's gonna do the local snapshot first and send it out, and then we'll be done. Okay, I won't go on too much more. I won't go on at all today because it's gone too far. Next week we'll come back to this and take a look again. Maybe we'll look at setting up Kasten DR, do a blog on that as well, because it's gotten a lot easier. But as you can see, what's really encouraging is that both Veeam and Kasten are moving forward. We get more and more capabilities as time goes by, which is fantastic. Of course, very soon Veeam 13 is coming, so that's going to add a lot of extra capabilities as well. So it's a very exciting time to be involved with Veeam and with Kasten. We will see you next week on the Kube Vanguard.